Hey everybody, welcome to Happy Businessing with Suze. I'm Susan Fessenden, the owner of ProfitLogics and creator of the 5 Missing Pieces. And today I'm going to talk about something that's more of an ouch lesson. I have learned a few things about trademarking complexities, and I just thought I would share with you guys what I have learned on my own business journey as of late. Before we dive into that, let me do some basic housekeeping. I'm super excited right now because I am going live to somewhere new. I have been trying to go live for almost a year, and that is on LinkedIn. So right now I'm super excited. I am live let me give a shout out to all the places I'm live. I am live in my Skyrocket Your Biz Facebook group. I am live in Small Business Owners United, one of the best Facebook groups for small business owners, 80,000 members. I'm live in Women's Entrepreneur Network, woo woo, 80,000 business owners. It's awesome. Bedrock Business Builders, a great new community I'm part of. And in a little while, I'm going to be going live in Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs. But I'm also live right now on my YouTube channel. Woo, what's up, YouTube fam? And I am live in LinkedIn. Yes. So for those of you who have been like me and applying to go live in LinkedIn, oh my God, it took forever. I first applied, I think in like February, March, I don't know, but I have applied 3 times. And I don't know what their criteria is, but it took a really long time, but I don't care. I'm just super excited that I finally have access to go live on LinkedIn. I'm super excited to connect better with all of my LinkedIn connections, and their connections love it. All right. So today I want to talk about some things that I learned about trademarking, and I don't really even have notes on this today. I just want to talk to you guys. So a couple lessons learned. 1, make sure your overall brand is really rooted in your purpose and really rooted in something important, like, to fall back on. I think this is one of the first things that I did in my business, and it's really paid off. And sometimes people, when I'm working with them on their business and we're working on those 5 missing pieces and we're focusing on one of the first business questions, which is who are we? It's all about the identity. Sometimes they don't really understand how important the work is on this stuff, where we're looking at your purpose, we're identifying your core values, your target market, your competition, all of that good stuff. It pays off because in that process, you are creating something that's unique, that's meaningful, and that has impact, right? So I was able to do that. And this is how it started. I was having a conversation with my business coach early on 2 years ago, right about 2 years ago. And I was telling her, business is not that complicated. It really just comes down to 5 or so key pieces, key things. And she asked me what those were. And I came up with them on the spot and wrote them down. And at the time, I had written them down as questions. Who are we? What do we do? Where are we going? How do we get there? And are we on track? And those were to kind of invite this concept of puzzle pieces in my branding. Okay. And I'm going to get to the point of this, but I saw these as 5 pieces of a puzzle that I had seen in my 25 years of business leadership experience, feeling like a lot of the companies that I did work for were missing like one of them or 2 of them, sometimes all of them, right? If you're just in concept mode and you haven't totally started your business, a lot of these 5 areas are still a big question mark, right? So as I started building my brand, I had this idea in my mind that my concept would be this brain with puzzle pieces and 5 puzzle pieces, right? And it was a quite complex logo that I ended up going with. I worked with the team, loved them, and was able to create that. And then I had to determine, what's the name of my company? How am I going to find a name of my company that, 1, you have the open domain for, right? and that's not already taken, and that conveys like what really is important in my business. And so it took me days and days of brainstorming and searching. And this is something that you want to do early on, right? So when you're at this concept stage and you're thinking about naming your business, you want to obviously see if the main domain is available. And I had made a mistake earlier a few years ago when I started a small business and was totally bootstrapping it. I had no money. And so I picked a website domain that had like a dash in it. It was something like, it was experience dash solutions. Anyway, it was a train wreck because no one could ever find me. And so I knew that I needed a clear domain that was really easy. So I started researching and I found ProfitLogics.com. And I wanted to also buy everything similar. So I bought ProfitLogics with an X. I bought ProfitLogic. I bought Profit. Anyway, every way you could spell it with a K. I wanted to buy all of those. So I put all of those domains in my cart. And I did have a negotiation process to get my domain because it was owned by someone as a premium domain. But before I pulled the trigger, guess what I did? Whoo, thank God I did this, right? I went on the USPTO website and I did my own little mini test search. So when you go to USPTO, there's an area where you can go and you can search for trademarks that are already in play, right? And that way you don't waste thousands of dollars buying this valuable domain and all of that stuff, right? So fortunately, I did that early on and I found that it looked like I was in the clear for ProfitLogics. And so I felt pretty confident about this one and purchased those. And then I hired an attorney. Hi, Joe. How are you doing? Thanks for saying hi. You guys say hi, drop me a comment, ask me a question if you have. If I don't know the answer, I will connect you with someone that can answer it for you, okay? But today we're talking about trademark lessons, trademark lessons in your business. Okay, so basically, ProfitLogics, when I looked it up, was good to go. And so I felt comfortable about investing all the money it was going to take to build my website, further develop my logo, do my branding process, and really go for the gusto. And then very shortly thereafter, I started the trademark process with my attorneys. Okay. So to give you guys an idea of what this took, the attorney that I found is actually in Portland, Oregon. I'm happy to recommend them. They're fantastic. But their rates are also very reasonable. And so I think I started that process in, I don't know, January of this year, maybe end of last year, to get the ball rolling on a trademark. And my initial costs were, I think, $1,800 plus, I think, $400 or so per class. And my business covers 3 different classes. And you want to research those too. Make sure you get them all covered and even look to the future on determining what trademark classes you're going to need. Maybe you don't totally need them yet, but think ahead, right? So we submitted my trademark application, and I think my total investment's probably about just under $3,000, something like that. And so we submitted that. It's a very long process, right? And, we've checked in, and at a certain point, they did push back on something. So it's really important that you don't quit. Don't quit at this point. They're always probably going to find something to push back on. And so my attorneys then, I think submitted proof of whatever their issue is that they came up with, right? And so bottom line, it was successful. And so I now have my trademark approved for ProfitLogics. Woo! And then the final step is that it is put up there for opposition, right? And so then it's basically approved, and then it sits there publicly for people to come up and sorry, I'm looking at Joe's question. What are the classes? Is that same as categories? Basically, but you'll find that there are business classes that you can choose from. Yes, categories that you can choose from that you need to have your trademark, involved in early on. So for instance, one class may be that you do training and teaching. Another class, maybe I'm going to have books and materials, right? And so you want to make sure that the classes you're picking make sense. Okay, so I want to make sure I circle back to the rest of my story here. Okay, so then your trademark goes into this where it's up for opposition, and that means that people can say, no, that's too similar to mine, she can't have that, or no, I have that, she can't have that, and then that process gets evaluated. So right now it's just sitting. It's typically 30 days that it's sitting up in opposition. But mine right now has been up there, I think, for 2 or 3 months just because of COVID. I think they're a little backed up. But what's really cool is, we know it's going to be successful. We know we're at the end of the bend. And then pretty soon I get to start using that circle R instead of the TM on everything, which means, oh my God, guess what? I've got to update everything. I've got to update my site. I have to update all my social media posts. I have to update all of my marketing materials, right? But that is a good problem to have. I'll be really excited to do all that work because it will mean I finally have my full trademark for ProfitLogics. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about another trademark situation that I tried that was not successful, okay? So I was talking to you guys a little bit ago about my 5 missing pieces, these 5 business questions, and this concept about my puzzle brain and how these are the pieces of a successful business, right? And this is my framework that I use when I work with clients one-on-one, okay? And I came up with it 2 years ago. But when I spoke with the attorneys about trademarking this one, I wanted to trademark, to be clear, the 5 business questions. And they had concerns. They were very concerned that would not go through. And unlike most attorneys, they're so wonderful. They don't want me to spend money on something that they are very confident is just going to be kicked back completely, right? So I tapped the brakes and I stopped for a while. And then, 6 months later, it's bothering me again because I really wanted to protect my 5 business questions. Because this is basically the gold of my company. It is the brand. I'm not the brand. The 5 business questions were kind of the star of my company and really made up my entire business. Sorry, I'm looking at questions coming in. So I put off working on trademarking the 5 business questions, but I kept revisiting it. And every once in a while, I would go into the USPTO site and do another search, looking up 5 questions, 5 business questions, the 5 business questions, anything similar. And I didn't see anything until lately. Oh my God. So, my attorneys had warned me, don't go for this. You're probably not going to get approved. And I couldn't really understand why. I had a hard time understanding it. So this is what I'm going to share with you guys. But I ended up finding one that had successfully gone through called the 5 behaviors. And of course, it's owned by a massive company, right? They have way more legal resources than I do. I'm not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight this, right? But the 5 behaviors gave me hope. And so I pushed again and I reached out to my attorneys recently and I said, listen, these people were able to get the 5 behaviors approved with their trademark. How come I can't get the 5 business questions approved? Like if they did it, why can't I do it, right? And so we had a lot of conversation about it, and I think I'm finally understanding it. So when you're trying to get something trademarked, a concept or a framework like this is, something like that, the name of it can't just be descriptive. Like if you think of it, the 5 business questions describes itself. And so that was part of it. Also, the words within it are words that other businesses would be using all the time, right? So how do you protect that? And so in conversations after 2 years of going back and forth on this and trying to figure out what my best path forward was, I got to the point where I was stalling on other growth in my business because I didn't have this trademark situation wrapped up with my most important piece of intellectual property, my 5 business questions, right? And so I was concerned, and we decided to actually change it, come up with something that would go through, that better conveys what I'm doing and leaves a little bit of mystery and is not just descriptive, right? And so I'm really excited because this is where we come full circle. because I did that initial work with my branding, because I did that initial work with looking at what was important in my business and what I was going to be doing in my business early on, guess what? I had the concept of these 5 puzzle pieces in a brain. And these 5 pieces were what I had seen missing in all of these businesses in my whole career. And so that is the framework, right? Not necessarily what makes up those 5 pieces, the 5 questions, right? And so we are submitting for the 5 missing pieces. And I'm really excited. I think it actually makes more sense. It's more interesting. And so some of you may have noticed I'm, reworking my website and reworking a lot of my marketing materials to make this shift. So something I wanted to talk about is make sure that you don't just, I know a lot of you are do-it-yourselfers. I usually am too, but I would not do your own trademark. I really think that you need the wisdom and the experience and the foresight of experienced attorneys to help you with this. Now, that being said, I have seen some attorneys charge 4 times for the same process what my attorneys charge. So don't get discouraged if you hear some really big high number from the attorneys that you're talking to. Go out there and look for another one. And again, if you want a referral to the company I use, I'm happy to share it. So I feel really good about my investments in these 2 because I know they're very well thought out and I know they're solid. And I did that preliminary work, right? Get your hands on that USPTO search. That it's called the TESS, TESS search. And do that work for yourself early. And that way you kind of go into it knowing like what you're going to do. But the do-it-yourself trademark stuff, God, I just can't recommend it, you guys. I'm sorry. I think, and this is partially why, because a lot of times you will submit this stuff and it takes so long, right? It's like a 9-month process. And do you really want to go down that road and then find out it was all for nothing, that it's just rejected, or you're not quite sure how to respond when you get pushback from the USPTO on it, right? So my recommendation is do your own research first, hire a good attorney that has experience in these matters, and then go for it, right? And listen to them because they are absolutely right. Now I finally understand what they were saying. Okay, let's see here. So it's a big investment. How do you know when you really need one? I didn't just start my business and then immediately do this, right? I first got my business going. I had my branding done. I had my website up and I was in operation. I wanted to make sure that I was really serious and completely committed. And obviously it costs money, right? So I had to make sure that I had, enough revenue and cash flow built up that I could make this commitment. So for me, it was within the first year, near the end of the first year. That was when it was right for me. And I think it really depends. There are lots of companies out there that probably don't really even need a trademark. But for me and where I'm going with my company and the vision I have for it, I knew that I would. And so if you want to talk about it and just get my opinion, I can give it to you. I have a link for you to do a free call with me. I'm definitely not a trademark expert and I'm not a trademark attorney, but I will be happy to share what my experience has been on this journey. So I think the key points for me that I want to share with you guys is branding is not just throwing a logo together. Okay. Your brand is, a reflection of everything that you're building. Okay. It needs to reflect what you're doing and where you're going. It needs to be solid, because if your initial work on that brand is solid, you're going to be able to come up with another solution when you run into hurdles like mine, right? So the 5 business questions weren't trademarkable. That's okay, because I had this bigger concept. I have this bigger thing that I'm building, and I was able to find another option of something that I could trademark and feel really good about. I actually like the 5 missing pieces better. So when I think about the name of my books, should I say, that I'll be coming out with, a book called The 5 Missing Pieces, I think sounds a lot more interesting than the 5 business questions, because they already know what the book's going to be about, right? Anyway, so sometimes these hurdles that come up in your business are for the best, and you just have to kind of work through it. So I hope that made sense. Do we have any questions that I can answer for anybody? Trademark woes, trademark questions. For me, my first trademark was probably about $3,000 all in. Okay. And that even includes when we did get some pushback and we had to resubmit. So it's really not that expensive when you think about the value of protecting your IP and the value of protecting this baby that you're birthing and this business that you're growing. But I also don't want people spending money willy-nilly, needlessly. And that's why I was really glad that I had the wisdom of the attorneys that I'm working with to help me discern when it's a winner and when, your trademark is likely to be okay versus when it's just, that's not going to happen. You're going to go waste $3,000. And so that was really helpful for me. Any questions I can answer for you guys? I see that not a lot of people are on. I know it's dinner time for you out there. I'm on live at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, of course. For me, it's gorgeous out. I'm here in Tokyo. It is actually Wednesday, just about 11:30. And I will see you guys again next week. If you have any questions, drop them here. I'm happy to answer them. And again, if you want a referral to the attorneys I'm using, I don't get anything for that. I just really appreciate them and I appreciate what they brought to my trademark process. And I want to share that with all of you. All right, so let me do some final shout outs. Woo, hey, YouTube. I am excited to be live for you right now and LinkedIn. Oh my God, I'm so excited that I'm finally approved to go live on LinkedIn. Yes. And I'm live on Facebook in Small Business Owners United. Hey, SBOU, Women's Entrepreneur Network, Skyrocket Your Biz. If you guys are not in these Facebook groups, oh my God, you got to join them right now. They're fantastic. And I do have some information on those groups in the post, so you can check it out. All right. I hope today has been helpful. If you are considering getting a trademark and you're not really sure where to start, leave me a comment, send me a message. I'm happy to help you, at least with some of the basics, knowing where you're going with it. Okay. All right. Thanks, you guys. Happy businessing.